This is Right Around Australia, the story of Nevill Westwood and his Citroën Bubsie on Faith FM. In 2025, the incredible journey will be reenacting another incredible journey undertaken 100 years earlier by young Nevill Westwood, who accidentally achieved the record of being the first person to drive right around Australia. Here is part 6 of his exciting story. The year is 1925. After 2 wonderful weeks in Broome, Nevill and Greg replenished their supplies and set out again on Sunday the 30th of August for Derby, which they reached on Monday morning. The driving as they headed east from Derby became grueling as they crossed sand dunes and dodged huge anthills. Long grass often covered the whole area, making it difficult for them to find the trail, and they were often stopped by fallen trees across the track. In some places, the bush had grown right over the track, and they had to slash their way through the undergrowth. Up and down they went, through dry creek beds and gullies, sometimes having to pull themselves out with a block and tackle. They were forced to cross the Fitzroy River 3 times, the Margaret River twice, and the Louisa River once. The rivers were dry, which made it very difficult to cross due to the deep sand in the river beds. On one of the Fitzroy crossings, their wheels sank in the sand, and Bubsie was stuck. They tried packing the track with leaves and branches to give the wheels some leverage. Nevill pressed his foot to the accelerator while Greg pushed, but it was no use. Fortunately, a group of Aboriginals from the local community came to their rescue. They tied a stout rope to the front axle, and then a dozen men and women grabbed the rope and pulled while others pushed. Bubsie slowly emerged from the soft sand, and Nevill and Greg were able to continue on their way. Nevill had previously reversed the wheel hubs to give Bubsie a wider tyre track, but he soon found that mud and other rubbish was getting caught against the mudguards and slowing him down. So now, Nevill took the mudguards of all together and threw them away before continuing their journey. The men finally reached Halls Creek, the only sizable town they had encountered since leaving Broome, 685 kilometers away. Halls Creek was named after a prospector, Charlie Hall, who found an 870-gram gold nugget on Christmas Day in 1885. His finds sparked a 3-month gold rush as 15,000 people rushed to the area to try their luck. Halls Creek was now an important trading center for the surrounding cattle stations, Aboriginal communities, and miners, as it was at the northern end of the Canning stock route. Halls Creek is also 150 kilometers north of the famous Wolf Creek crater, but Nevill and Greg would have known nothing about that, as it wasn't discovered until 1947. If Nevill had expected to arrive in Halls Creek in a blaze of dust and glory, he was in for a big disappointment. On Sunday night, the 6th of September, just as they were nearing the township, little Bubsie broke down, the first serious mechanical problem they had experienced. The gears in the gearbox were stripped, and Bubsie refused to go any further. So Nevill and Greg walked 6.5 kilometers into town, found something to eat, and with the energy found only in the young, joined a group at the AGM Presbyterian Hospital in rousing hymn singing. They hired a couple of horses the next day to take them back to the car, pull the gearbox out, and carry it to Moola Bulla, where they found a blacksmith who could repair the damage. Later in the trip, the rear axle had to be removed and straightened, which is not surprising considering the rugged country they were bouncing over. That job was done on a railway line. They did achieve some celebrity in Halls Creek, however. Nevill called it the most isolated town in Australia, and consequently the locals were curious about the 2 young travellers. The men at the hotel where they stayed crowded into their room to find out more about them. Evidently, Bubsie was only the second car ever to have made the long trip overland from Perth. Nevill and Greg would have been happy to tell them of their mission, and no doubt sold them a few books while they were at it. Stay tuned to Faith FM for the next installment of this series, Right Around Australia, the story of Nevill Westwood and his Citroën Bubsie. For more information about this program, visit the website of The Incredible Journey, online at tij.tv/RAA.